Viewers, you're looking at a ball of light. And here's another ball of light. And here's another one. But they're not relevant right now. What is relevant is joy. Hey.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I was a ball of light.
Well, you can be if you want to. But hey, right now, you're in authority of mental illness. So let's forget the ball of light. We thought we discovered quite a few things off camera about what we could talk about next. And mainly we wanted to talk about two things. The relationship between yourself and the workplace when you have mental illness. Or if you basically wanted to discover or talk about your day-to-day activities when you were going through something. So which one do you want to start off with?
I'll start with my day-to-day activities because that kind of leads into why work was really difficult for me and why I had to take a little bit of time off. Okay. So say you're like, I don't know what you think about when you're making a cup of tea. Like now that I'm quite well, I'm just thinking about what am I going to have for lunch, or like, oh cool, another day, like just, you know, thinking. But when I was, so I worked in a coffee shop, so say I was making a cup of tea, I would think like, it was almost like being an absolute perfectionist. I would think, oh, if this person of the team was making this cup of tea, they would put the tea bag in this way. If this person from the team was making a cup of tea, they wouldn't turn off the hot water handle like this, they would turn it off like that. And then if I was doing the milk, I would think, oh, well, this person in the team does it this way, but the other person does it this way, and like, she always gets really good milk, but she wants me to do it this way. And then, with pouring, like, like all of this in my head all the time. So it was like constant critiquing myself about things that didn't really matter. Like, I could do my job. And that was cool. But like, we would have tubs of food, like, we make paninis, and there would be like chorizo and tomato and mozzarella. And you know, so our food is pretty fresh. Well, not our anymore because I don't work there anymore. I'm just too used to talking about this lovely coffee shop. But no, so we'd have Tupperware boxes full of like tomatoes, onions, stuff. And because it was fresh, we would chop it up. So I remember one day when I wasn't well, someone was leaving and they said, the boxes need to be filled up. And I was like, okay, cool. But they all have dates on of like how many days you can use them for. And all the dates, so new food needed to be put in, ones that were kind of half full just to top them up to be ready. But then I was like, oh well, this one person in the team would put grease food paper here and put this lot on top that needs to be used first. Other people would say that I probably didn't need to top it up yet, and then there's loads of different dates in the fridge, and then I need to do the tomatoes, but how will that work because the tomatoes are juice? And I knew how to do all of these things. Like, I can chop food and top up a Tupperware box, but in my head it was just like this constant, like, oh, this person would do it this way and this and this, and what about this? And actually, the task of doing that was so overwhelming that I just couldn't. So it's all these thoughts that just run forward, and all the things and ways you should do things that I was critiquing myself for that actually just didn't matter. Like, I can chop tomatoes and fill up a tub, that's fine. Yeah. Fuck, man. So that was my brain. That was my brain.
And obviously, like, you know, when you were actually, sometimes you wouldn't be able to go into work. We talked about that.
Yeah, so imagine that, like all the time you're at work, your brain doing that about the tiniest things. We're talking about like pouring milk into a jug to heat up, and all the time I'll be like, maybe I felt under pressure to be really brilliant, but actually, and I felt like I was kind of proving myself all the time. I don't know, to myself, I guess, more than anything. But yeah, so imagine that pressure that you're putting on yourself every day, and then getting to a point where actually that is so much that you can't even go in anymore. Like, I actually took a holiday, so I had a doctor's appointment booked for when I got back from holiday. I took a holiday, and then I came back to work for a couple of days. But that was even harder because I had actually taken some time out for myself, relaxed, and kind of, I don't know, drank quite a lot of alcohol and been then quite physically ill and not done a lot that was really giving myself a lot of self-respect. And then I had to go back, and that was harder to go back. I went to this doctor's appointment, and then I started antidepressants. 2 days, no, not 2 days, I'm not sure. I went in once or twice and then got sent home, and then I didn't go in for a couple of weeks, which was really hard. But the people I worked for were actually really, really good, and you know, spoke to me about how I felt. Although often I didn't have the courage to say what I was thinking about how I felt and how that they could help me, but that is not their fault. They gave me the environment in which I could speak up if I needed to. But why you know, at the first I didn't want to say, and why should you call in sick? And if actually, you know, that was very detrimental to how well I could do my job, and just as a sore throat would be. But that's obviously a really clear cause. Why should I, you know, if I needed to call in sick to work now, would I call in sick and say, oh, I've got a bad stomach so I can't come in? Because I know my boss on the other end of the phone is going to go, oh, okay, that's fine, take as long off as you need, we'll see you when you're better. If I call them up and say, look, I'm in a really bad place in my head and I need some time out, they might go, we've got the weekend, like, you know, get back to work.
They don't
so
understand.
Why, no, and just might not even see it as a valid excuse. And maybe you have a boss that actually would and would be really good to you, but you don't know that, and you don't want to say that in case it's going to put your job at risk. In case they say, no, you have to come into work, and then you've told them what's really wrong, so you can't go, oh, actually, I have a sore stomach, so I can't come in. You've already said that, and then they make you come in, and then you're in an even worse place. Like,
this is all because of society's stigma being something that will influence whether or not it's a conversation you can even have, let alone one that will be understood by someone who's aware of there not being, you know, a necessity for the stigma.
Yeah, like we're standing in a busy shopping centre today, like just talking about mental illness, because why not? Like, shall we ask someone if they want to talk?
Do you want to?
Excuse me, do you want to talk about mental illness? He doesn't want to talk about mental illness.
He doesn't. No. Should we try and find someone who's more receptive?
Let's try and find someone.
Let's try and
I'm going to go and ask some random people.
Okay. Ask her. She seems cool. That person there.
She's gone.
Oh, she's gone now. Ask him. No. Maybe we've done the test on 2 people. Let's ask one more person.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, we'll ask them if they want to talk about something that's, I don't know, something that's kind of commercial.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll see if they're more comfortable.
What's our second question going to be about?
I don't know. Second question would be, do you want to talk about the deal in TK Maxx?
Okay.
Yeah. So for now, ask one more person about mental illness, and if they say no.
Hey, you two look friendly. Do you want to talk about mental illness? Hey, have you seen the deal in TK Maxx? Yeah, you have. Did you get some stuff from there? It's pretty cool. No, it's pretty. Not today, okay. Have a good day.
Well, there we have it, viewers. People want to know about TK Maxx over mental illness. I think we proved something about society.
Hey, did you see that deal in TK Maxx? TK Maxx, yeah. They've got a deal on jackets, I think. You need a new jacket, okay, check it out. I'm not sure where it is. You'll have to check on the map. Do you know where TK Maxx is, John?
I think it's on the lower floor. I think it's on the...
He's taking pictures.
All Sense.
All Sense, I don't know where All Sense is. Sorry.
Well, TK Maxx is down.
Yeah. Go check it out. Happy New
Thank
Year.
you. Have a good New Year.
Thank you.
Well, you are a ball of light, Joy, and that's all that matters. So fuck them.
This is what I'm talking about, guys. Let's talk about it. I don't know what that was.
It's okay.
Maybe it's a soundtrack potential. If there are any TV producers out there, yes, I would like to have my series.
We will handle that momentarily. Say goodbye to the camera.
Goodbye.